Hi everyone, and I'm Terry from Facebook Game HK, and today we have a very creative Kano player, Justin. Is my guest here to share his block Kano decklist deck tech with us. And Justin just have a topic in the Battle Hardened Orlando. Welcome to Justin.
Thank you for having me here. It's always a pleasure to talk with you, especially about new Kano ideas and how to play the deck.
Yeah, and this is very impressive. And at the stream, it's just shock everyone.
Yeah, I went back and watched it afterwards. It was really fun to watch everyone's reactions to Absorb In Aehter, one of my favorite cards, even if it's not the best of cards right now.
Yes. I have tried this as the Blitzgum, and I just add the red one. But you run 9 of it. It's very impressive. Yeah. And our first part will want to ask you about the switch round and the matchup. And can you share with us which hero and which matchup you are having at the game?
So for round 1, I played into Rhinar on AB3, which was honestly kind of sad because Rhinar's not exactly our best of matchup to have to deal with. On top of that, I'm trying to play defense reactions, which aren't good against Rhinar because of Intimidate.
Yeah.
My very first round, I do have a switchboard for matchups that the D-Reats are bad against. I can take out all 9 D-Reats and not play them. That way I don't just have like 9 perma-dead cards in my
just playing the normal deck list.
Yeah, well, it's not quite the normal. I couldn't fit everything in as the normal deck list, but it is. My headphones just died. Neat. I do have the ability to take them all out so that if I run into something like Rhinar or Dromai where the cards just aren't as good, I can remove them.
Yes.
Which he didn't really get to play very much. We killed him on his second turn of the game, and he went first.
Whoa.
Which was like I kind of felt bad about it, but like it happens. My round 2 was Spell Void 4 AB1 Levia.
Spell Void 4. It just say for the round.
They had the what's it called? The Shadows of Darkness or the weird blood debt equipment you can spell Void 2 on.
Yeah, the boots and the hand, right?
Yeah. I think it was actually the chest piece. I could be wrong. I know the helmet was AB1. I think it was the gloves and the chest. I think they kept their what are they called? Scab skins.
Yeah.
That was a really fun game. I actually have a lot of experience into that matchup because my local plays Spell Void 6, AB2 Levia.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's really irritating is what it is. So I was fairly used to that one, so it wasn't awful. My round 3 was a Dromai, which we do take out every D-React against Dromai. But again, they was kind of a non-game. I put them to 13 on their turn 0 and opted 12.
Oh no.
So they didn't really have they didn't have as much fun as I did that game.
On AB0, right?
Round, what was that?
The Dromai at AB0.
Yeah, they had AB0. I think they had Seeker's Mitts as their one-off card.
Yeah, you can
runs.
Prevent one.
Yeah, the one-time prevent one and an opt.
Yeah.
My round 4 was actually probably one of my more favorite rounds. It was AB3 Katsu.
Mm-hmm.
Where the D-Reats are really important in that matchup, so I was really happy to get a good matchup where I could play the D-Reats in. Round 5 was Mara, who was my loss both before top 8 and during top 8. She was also on Seeker's Mitts. Then my round 6 was
the stream game.
AB. What was that?
The 6th round. Oh no, the 7th round is the stream game. Yeah.
Round 6 was AB4 Spell Void 4 Vynnset.
Whoa, that's crazy.
That matchup is actually awful for like every form of Kano. If you've never played it, I would not recommend it. It's just not all that fun.
Yeah.
It's really bad all the way around. But I had to blow Wildfire early to make him put the Grasp of Darkness boots in his Banish Zone.
Yes.
On turn 2. And then he took like 7 life from it. And when the game ended, I put him to -2 with the Waning Moon. So if I would have done it a few turns later, he just wouldn't have died when I tried to kill him.
Yeah, this is a very good strategy.
Which I was sad to do it, but like I had the opportunity to make him use them or die. I played the Wildfire for 5, and I had a Lesson in Lava banished and a Blazing Aether banished with 4 resources up. So I was like, you're gonna block it or you'll die right now.
Yes.
We want the equipment gone. And then my round 7 was the stream match against Brody.
Yes.
Um,
So much fun.
which was like, I wanted to play against Bravo all day, and I think like Bravo was one of the highest percentage heroes at the event, and I didn't see a single one until round 7.
Okay.
Or a single Azuri, which is also a really fun match for me.
Yes.
And then first round of top 8 was Mara again, which went about the same as it did the first time.
Oh no. So
Yeah,
sad about her to see you twice in the day.
Yeah, I playtest with Mara a lot too whenever I'm testing Kano. So we've played that matchup a million times.
I see.
So like we both know exactly how the matchup's gonna go. Like it's just whoever races better.
Yes.
Which we have added dragon killers to the list because we can't just like auto lose to Thamai if they natural draw it on turn 0. But
Yes.
they're not the best of dragon killers, and you have to draw them still. So
You
but those are my
can
matchups.
lesson to find the Aether Duck.
Yeah, so I run 2 red Aether Darts
Yes.
for Dromai. I have 3 blue ones, which we can buff off of Flare.
Yes.
And then I have 2 Pursuit of Knowledge and 1 Nourishing Emptiness.
Yes.
Because on hit, gaining intellect, kill a Thamai is pretty good.
Sure.
It's okay.
And at the top 8 is then did you pass Mara in the top 8?
No, Mara beat me in top 8. She played my teammate Julian.
I see.
In is that quarter or semis? I don't know. In top 4, she played Julian, which, to be fair, I was pretty confident and I was gonna lose the match in the Kano mirror match because this list is
yeah, there's not that.
It's not great in the mirror match.
Yeah, just 30 blue.
Yeah. Well, it's designed to play on their turn, but if I play on their turn, then defense is down on my turn.
Yes.
Which is really bad because if he just arsenals a wildfire and draws 4 blues, I might die on my turn.
Yes.
So my list is not great in the mirror. But I chose to forsake the mirror because I think the list is really good into a bunch of our other matchups that can be hit or miss. I really wasn't expecting. I didn't know he was showing up until the night before, and I was like, I kind of already committed. I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to see him at some point later in the day, but I'm not changing what I'm doing.
Yeah, you were such as the most creative Kano player I've ever seen. You just play test and try some new cards, and the world didn't see it.
You have to take advantage of Kano for every advantage you can get because of the lack of life that we start at.
Yes.
And one of the biggest advantages in Kano is your opponent not really knowing what's going on.
Yes.
And if you can play cards that aren't normally played, you can compound on that and make it even harder for them to gauge what the appropriate plays are. Like mine and Brody's game, for instance. He dominated several times throughout the game, which against the normal Kano would have been the correct play because the normal Kano list only runs 3 D-Reacts. Or 6 D-Reacts.
Maybe none.
If they have the stack sideboard, they have at least sync belows because sync belows are really good for stacking.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right, they may have none. They may forsake stacking because the Bravos are kind of cutting their AB out, which is really funny.
Yeah.
So he dominated at 30 life with a red in hand, which is fairly safe since I hadn't had a lot of time to set up for. But since I play all the D-Reacts, it was a really awkward decision because I can just D-React from Arsenal block from hand.
Yes. Then let's move to the second part of the list idea.
So the list idea was to trade even value on players. So a block 3 to 7, and throw back 7 to 9, depending on what card you hit off top.
Let us to introduce the key card, Absorb In Aehter. Okay. The next card you play this turn with an effect that deal arcane damage, instead do that much arcane damage +2. That means if you play the defense reactions in play and resolve and hold priority, and you just Kano the top card and play the top card, and it will have a bluff for extra 2. Yeah. And your key idea is blocking 7, 1 hand card and 1 Absorb In Aehter in the arsenal or the hands with 7 blocking. That's a value, extra value on the blocking, and then having a +2 with the top card. And if the resources is have 2, you can Wailing Moon for extra 3, or you with the Scolding with a +2 in the opponent's turn. If a red one, that's dealing the 8 damage.
Yeah. So the thought is once they play their first, like if it's a deck like Bravo where they're only really going to be playing one attack,
Yes.
as soon as they play their first attack, it's peek at the top, as long as the math says that it's safe, to see if the top card is fine. From there, we can see if with 3 cards in hand, if one of them's the defense reaction, we can play the defense reaction, play whatever the card is, and still Waning Moon. Or if the top card just isn't enough damage, like if we flipped a blue Aether Dart off the top or something, I can commit a full card to blocking, or 2 cards to blocking and just arsenal the defense reaction. The goal is designed that against most stats, once Kano finds combo, the game ends. There's not a whole lot most stats can do to stop it right now because they're just not running the resources required.
Mm-hmm.
So the goal is to block and defense react until we can find the combo. So instead of the game going 3 turns, the game's going to go 7 or 8.
Yes.
But I'm still running all the opt effects. So like if within 6 or 7 turns of me activating Kano at least once, I can't find the combo, I'm just drastically unlucky this game, and I was never going to win anyway.
Yes.
But while doing it, the goal is to try to chip damage so that they're within a lower required lethal range,
Mm-hmm.
so that you don't have to wildfire from the same range. Like you were saying, Emeritus Scolding for 8, block 7 is just an insane turn. And
Yes.
you could theoretically just block 4 and still throw Waning Moon at them as well, if off of a 4-card hand. So block 4, throw 11 is really good.
Yes. And how about the game plan is just trading the damage, and you have after the post game you have the interview with the streamers. You just having an idea of the chip damage is if the case is you and your opponent can have the even life, and then you will get an extra turn from our striders or just from the opting the Kano to kill them in their turn. Say you having your boots pops off in the very early game is also okay. And what is the value of the striders you determine you can go off? How do you evaluate the value? Maybe
So
more than
the
6?
value of the Striders, me breaking Striders, I need to be fairly confident that they're going to 15 or less. If it has to be sub 20, or there's no value at all in breaking the Striders. But
You mean
15
more than
or less
20
is typically where we want to be at.
Yeah, okay. More than 20 life, then you need to find a better spot. If you can sure can chip down to less than 15, then it's a good deal.
Yeah, if you can get down less than 15, it's a good deal. Because at 15 life, most Kanos can't kill them on their turn, which is still true for my deck as well. I can't kill in one turn off 15 typically, but I can block 6 and throw 8 on their turn. And so like the specific game, I'm assuming is Brody's matchup because that's where they asked me that question. I put him to 14 and put myself to 13.
Yes.
And it's actually really safe against Bravo, especially considering how many of his go again attacks we'd already seen.
Yes.
Odds are he's only going to be throwing 1 attack a turn at me, which means that as long as I'm blocking any amount of damage, it's going to take him 2 turns to kill me
Yes.
at a minimum. Which is soup. Like if you can't deal 15 damage in 2 turns as a Kano player, then like you're just really unlucky or making some really weird decisions.
Yeah, at the bottom line, you can block 2 and just attack with 2 cards.
Yeah, like some of the best hands in that situation is when they just throw their 8 attack. Is you can block 6, and then on your turn play a 1 for 3, and then moon them.
Yeah, it's just.
While that's only 5 damage, it either takes cards from their hand so they can't throw multiple, or it takes cards from their hand so they don't have the ability to block on their turn. Or they just take 5 damage, and you're pretty happy with all 3 options.
Yes.
And none of them are actually bad for you.
Yeah, I understand. Then about the playing style, because I just play test with your list these 2 to 3 days, and I just find some situation maybe awful. First of all, if you have 4 blue cards in your hands, but you haven't see any Absorb In Aehter in the list, that means you have 90 reacts and 1 eye. What will you determine is a good time to Kano in their turn, or just blocking and waiting for a D react in your hands or in your arsenal?
So a lot of it depends on what deck I'm playing against, and how much damage they're likely to throw. But the worst case scenario is on their turn is you take a peek with 1 card. If you see a D react, you're going to block 9 that turn because we don't my list doesn't Arsenal blues unless it's the blue D-React.
Mm-hmm.
You can kind of Arsenal Gaze the Ages. Gaze is a pretty fine target. It just means that you have to take one turn of playing on your turn instead, which is why I don't like to do it as much as I will with the normal list. But one peak and then block 9, as long as you're not playing against like Katsu or one of the ninjas where they can go super wide and like you're going to get punished for that turn off. The block 9 is probably fine.
Or just like the
Most
normal
lists are
control deck.
Yeah, like if you're just playing against Bravo, and they throw an attack at you, and you peek and see a D-React on top, block 9, take nothing. Block 9, take 2. It's not a bad idea. It doesn't hurt you any. Especially if you're getting rid of 4 blues. It does lower your blue density for the combo turn, which is sad. But the deck isn't all in on the combo, so you don't have to have the perfect combo turns.
Yeah.
To win. Not to say that you can't have them, because there's no reason not to include the combo in the list, but it's not the goal of the deck.
Yeah, I understand. And I see your deck. If you using your Absorb In Aehter, then you use the 1 resources and you're pitching a blue. But what if you Kano a blue cards with 1 cost? Then you just play it, or will you have the floating one and use the Spellfire Clock to have the moon for the extra damage, or will you choose to subbing more 0 cost blue cards, and the resource curve is more fitting the 1 resources for the Absorb In Aehter and 2 resources for the Waiting Moon?
Yeah, so we're not running as many 1-drops to try to avoid that issue. 2 costs fit very well in our curve, as opposed to the 1-drop. We typically aren't going to break our chess piece just to play the 1-drop, because we don't want to lose the value of the chess piece that early, because it is really essential on turns that you're trying to combo.
Yeah.
Unless the 1-drop is like the lesson turn that I did.
Yeah.
Unless you're getting super value off that, which that turn was actually a mistake. Not going off, but I chose the wrong card. I should not have grabbed a Blazing Aether there.
You better to get the Tome, Draw 2, and Waiting Moon Blazing?
Waiting Moon Blazing is technically less damage than Blazing, but if I get a Tome and draw 2 blues, I have a much higher chance of hitting more than 4 damage off the top.
Yeah, if this Spindle or your Sonic Boom?
Spindle, Sonic Boom, any of the Emeritus's.
Yeah.
If I do see any of the 0-drops that I run in the list, or the 1-drops, I can play them and Waning Moon.
Yeah.
So the Blazing Aether was technically a mistake. I wasn't supposed to grab it there. I didn't think about it at the time. I was just looking guaranteed. Because even at worst, if I drew 2 reds off the Tome, I can still Waning Moon, and I'm only losing 2 damage.
Yes.
But and if I draw a blue and a red, I only lose 1 damage. So I was supposed to grab Tome. It ended up not really mattering too much, but like the high roll potential from Tome on that turn would have been much better than just Blazing Aether.
Yes, it's a math game.
It is a math game, and I ignored that math. I don't even think it occurred to me. Like, there's always a risk of grabbing Tome and then drawing 2, and then seeing a D-React on top. But even then, you still can Waning afterwards. So like, it's not huge numbers lost. It's just this variant, you have to be as efficient as possible, or you're going to the 1 point of value that you lost on turn 2 might actually just cost you the game, because this variant is actually just a numbers game.
Yes. Then how about your arsenal target for this stack list? Is it most of the time is Absorb In Aehter and the Sending Foresight?
So Absorb and Sending are the 2 first cards I want to Arsenal, because I can play them from Arsenal without needing to break my boots or without having to keep cards in my hand. I actually don't like arsenaling combo pieces in this list until we're sub 20.
Yeah, just like the Wildfire,
I don't
want to absolute arsenal that card.
Yeah. You can arsenal it, but it can get awkward. Like, there might be a time where you just have to play Wildfire on your own turn, which is actually what I was planning on doing that lesson in the beginning, was playing lesson on my turn and then Waning Mooning them whenever I got an off turn where I had to block 9. But I ended up getting a good read on Brody and assumed he had a red in hand, which he ended up having, so that was nice. But I'd say if we're excluding Cindering and Absorb, Sonic Boom and Spindle are 2 of the cards I enjoy arsenaling with this list, because they force value block. Like they forcibly take a card because if you don't block them, they can give too much game advantage.
Yeah. So we can divide it into two parts. If the Absorb In Aehter and the Scintillating Foresight can go off at the opponent's turn. If you also know
Yes.
the Sonic Boom or the Spindle is you can block 9, you're keeping 1 blue, and do it in your own turn.
Yep, it's either block 9 or if you draw well enough, you can block 6 and save a good arsenal target. And then play it on your own turn.
I see. And if you have a Absorb In Aehter in your arsenal, what hand will you decide to go off your at your opponent's turn? Maybe 4 blues or 2 red, 2 blues.
So as long as I have 2 blues in hand, and I have an absorb anywhere, I'll always peek at the first attack. Well,
2 blue, 2 reds. You will peek.
Yes. Well, if it's Katsu, it's not going to be on the first attack. It's going to be on like the attack that would trigger mask is where I'm going to peek at. But with 2 blues, 2 reds, I will always peek if there's an absorb in arsenal. Because if the top card is good, then that 1 blue can play the top card and the absorb. If the top card is bad, then I can just block 9 or block 6, keep a card. It just depends on where I'm at in the game.
Then how about 4 blue?
4 blue, I'm definitely peeking. 4 blue is actually like, depending on how many absorbs I've seen, 4 blue is kind of risky because if I miss, then I have to block with a bunch of blues, and I'm not likely to draw another hand of 4 blues. But it's all about knowing when to, what the odds are. Because if you're pretty sure there's an absorb on top, you're just not going to peek.
Yeah.
Like if the math says the next 1 or 2 cards is absorb, then you just let it go and wait.
So let's move to the matchup. And I think in this manner, no more Icelander, and many Argo deck will not respect us, and we can ambush them with a low AB. And with this list, you also very easy to go through them, even if AB3, and you can doing the more chip damage and lower their threats every turn. But some heroes is still very annoying. Let's move to Azalea. How do you prepare for this matchup?
So Azalea, I take out all of the Diriats, and I add in, God, what is it? 2 Mind Warps and a... Man, I'm trying to think of my sideboard. I think it's a red Aether Dart, just damage.
Yeah,
and then I run Crucible into them as opposed to Waning Moon. And we just treat them like a normal race. We can still go off on their turn. We actually have more value in playing on their turn than we do on ours. But the whole goal of Azalea is, like, as long as you can dodge the inertia or the Seek and Destroy, which is another inertia, in the first 2 turns, you're probably fine. I tried the Diriats into her, and if you have the time to arsenal them, they can be very good, because she does like to dominate her attacks against us. But getting them to the arsenals can be tricky, and if you're arsenaling them, you're not arsenaling your combo pieces. And the Azalea game, in my experience, doesn't typically go past turn 3 or turn 4. One of us is dead or dying.
Yes. So that means the game plan is just racing?
Just racing.
Just racing.
Yeah, I tried many times with the Diriats. I learned very quickly that Waning Moon just isn't it in that matchup. There have been times where I've kept the 3 reds in and just took out the blues and yellows and run the deck like that. Because the red Diriats can be really impactful in the matchup of a block 4. Because sometimes their turn is buff a Bolt and Shot and throw it.
Yeah.
And block Diriat Bolt and Shots can be really important, but they probably just, load off the gloves, or they haven't loaded off the bow yet. So in my experience, just taking the Diriats out in that matchup has been the most help.
And going first.
Always go first. I don't let Azalea go. You can't let Azalea dominate an inertia on turn 0. That's just how the game ends poorly.
Yeah, he dominate for 6 to 8 and give you a give you a token, or you can set up a 5-card turns. It's not funny.
Yeah, and it's not good.
Yeah. Then how about Bravo? Bravo is a good matchup, right?
The list. Yeah, it's just my normal list of the 66, and you're just trying to value block where you can. Bravo's already pretty favored into Kano.
Yeah.
Their typical method of winning is all of the go again attacks and just trying to put pressure fast enough that we can't get to the combo. And since this list blocks a lot, it's pretty hard for them to do that. It's probably one of my favorite matchups, but it might just be because it's like one of the easier of the matchups.
Yes. If they just argo you, you can ready block. If you fatigue you, you can pitch stack.
Yeah, well, I don't actually have to try. I don't even try to pitch stack them with this matchup because of the absorbs and the emeritises. Like they only have AB3, so if I block 7 and then throw 10 at him or 8 at him off an emeritus, he can't fatigue that. It's too much damage coming in at one time.
Yes. Then how about Dromai? Dromai is it
Dromai is the
that
same
hard
as Azalea.
before?
You just
More easy
take out
now?
all of the D-Reacts. Actually take out all of the D-Reacts and the yellow emeritus scoldings.
Mm-hmm.
And I bring in 2 Mind Warps, 2 Aether Dart Red, 2 Pursuit of Knowledge, and a Nourishing Emptiness.
And you just using the Crucible in this matchup, right?
Yeah, just Crucible and Spellfire Cloak.
Yeah.
I think the only matchup I use Tunic in is into Bravo if I go first. But only if I go first. If they go first, I leave Spellfire Cloak on.
I see. And in the Dromai matchup, you prefer is a very fast race matchup or a longer matchup if you have this sideboard? It's still fast.
The game is typically decided by if we draw Wildfire before they draw Thamai, or if they draw Thamai before we draw Wildfire. But they have more than just Thamai they can hit. If they hit Oasis Respite or Sand Cover, if they're on one of those 2 cards, it can be pretty much the same.
And the Preserve and Knowledge is for the Thamai, right? Just hit the Thamai and you draw 5th card.
Yeah. If your hand has Pursuit of Knowledge in it, and they don't have Thamai out, you're still going to play the Pursuit of Knowledge. You're going to kill whatever dragon that you can with it. Because having a 5-card hand against Dromai probably means you win.
Yeah, I understand. This is also a no people using this card for the sideboard.
What was that?
I mean, not very much people using the Preserve of Knowledge for the sideboard to the Dromai.
Yeah, I haven't seen a lot of people doing it. I like it because it's kind of like Aether Dart where I can just hit the Thamai and kill it with a blue.
Yeah.
People don't run it because it is a dead card. Like you can see it on top on your combo turn and just lose because of it. But I feel the benefit that it gives you outweighs the risk of the card.
Yeah, definitely try it. And how about Ninja? Katsu and Fi?
Against both of them, I play all of the D-React still. Katsu, I play Waning Moon because I have to assume that they're on somewhere between 1 and 3 AB.
Yes.
Fi, I play Crucible.
Still with the D-Reacts?
Even with the D-Rats. We play Crucible against 5 because Aether Spindle for 5 when they're on AB0 or AB1 is really impactful. Because their game is also kind of a race. Our actual goal in that game is to make the game go about 2 turns longer than it normally would. Because with the extra 2 turns, you should be able to find your Wildfire and you should be able to get them below 21, which is where you'll see the most success in killing them from.
All right. Then how about the Dash? The Dash is the most difficult matchup in Kano in this meta?
No, that's still Prism. Prism is still the most difficult matchup.
Oh yeah. The second most difficult.
I actually think OG Dash has moved to 3rd most difficult. I think AB4 Spell Void 4 Vynnset is a little harder than Dash is. And that's just because they can throw 1 card 8s, which is a lot. It's just not the easiest to block out. Against both versions of Dash, I run the list as is with the D-Reacts. I do prefer to play against Dash IO than I do OG Dash. OG Dash just has too many resources, and they can start the game with Tekla Pounder and play.
Yeah.
And that card is really... If they start the game with Tekla Pounder and play, you're probably just going to block out for 3 turns and hope they don't find a second one. So you're still going to leak damage during that 3 turns.
So you prefer having D-React or not having D-React in this matchup?
I prefer to have the D-React in the matchup. Just because it blocks, it allows me to still try to do some damage back at the cost of a small amount. Just the ability to still throw an 8 attack at them or a 5 attack with a non-hit. Like, it can make them block it, which reduces the damage I'm taking in turn. So, like, their first attack will probably be look at the top. And as long as it's a spell that I think is scary enough that they'll block it, we're gonna de-react and play it. So like Sonic Boom, Spindle, and any Emeritus is really good in that matchup because like they have to respect either the damage or the on hit, whichever one, for depending on which card it is.
If it's on top is a blue, then you will block the remaining 9.
Yeah, if it's on top, unless it's a blue Emeritus, we're just gonna block 9 and be sad.
Yeah. And the others matchup is the Prism and the Vynnset is the most hardest.
So Prism is the hardest, and it's not even because of the Ward 4. If you play Waning Moon, you can play around that. It just requires setup. The problem is Halo of Illumination and Figment of Judgment.
Mm-hmm.
Because do you know what Figment of Judgment does?
Judgment cannot play cards from Arsenal, but play cards from Banish Zone.
It turns a card in Banish Zone face down.
Oh yeah.
And if it's face down, you can't play it. So when going for the Wildfire combo, you can't put any of your combo pieces in Banish Zone until you play the Wildfire. But normally we put cards in Banish Zone before we get to the playing of Wildfire part because we have to rag them up in Scap to make sure we have the resources.
Yes.
So like, if you put Lesson in Lava in your Banish Zone and you try to play a Wildfire, they'll just respond to the Wildfire and flip your Lesson in Lava face down.
Oh.
And you can still play it in response, but you needed that plus whatever buff it was going to get to be able to kill them. So Figment of Judgment makes it really, really, really hard. You have to play around it. It kind of just means that you need to put the Wildfire on top and have the Lesson in Arsenal, or the Blazing Aether in Arsenal. Because you can play the Wildfire from Banish and they can't turn it face down. And then you can do the rest in response. But it forces you to put face down, or it forces you to play them in an order that isn't the normal sequential order. So it puts a lot onto like, did you draw well? Which isn't great. The Vynnset matchup, they just have a lot of blues, and they return large amounts of damage with little to no resources. So like AB4 Spell Void 4 Vynnset was probably excluding the games that I lost, was the closest I came to losing, and I actually thought I was going to lose. Just because they threw a 2-card 8 at me, or a 1-card 8 at me, and still had 3 cards in an arsenal, and I'm like, I don't know how to deal with this. Like, this is bad.
And sometimes you still have to on hits, maybe destroy Arsenal and banish the top card.
Yeah, they can banish your combo pieces. They can destroy your arsenal.
Yeah.
They can take cards from your hand. And since they come in so split, it's really hard to stop. And if they have any of the buffs, you can't actually stop it because they can make the damage unpreventable.
Yes.
So it gets really awkward where, like, you can't arsenal your combo pieces because if you arsenal Wildfire and then draw a bad hand and they play the Destruction, you just wasted a Wildfire for no reason. I do think the key to the matchup is making them use their Spell Void as early as possible. So, like, if you can Wildfire combo without breaking boots, go for it. Even if you lose the rest of your equipment, it's fine. Because you have to force
They take the Blood Debt.
It's partly to take the Blood Debt. It's really good if you can do it without wasting your boots. Like, if you have any card in Arsenal and you draw 3 blues in a Wildfire, it's almost guaranteed to be worth it to rag them up into the Wildfire that turn.
Yes.
Just to scare them. Nothing else matters. They just need to be scared into breaking the Spell Void. Because at that point, they will be taking the Blood Debt damage. And if you were able to keep your boots with it, you can still do another Wildfire combo.
Yes.
It's just harder to do Wildfire Blazing because you have to naturally get the Blazing Aether or the Lesson in Lava off the top.
I see.
Because you won't have your helmet anymore.
Okay. Then let's recap again how to manage the dead card and the maths behind this deck for conclusion. And is it more likely if you have 1 Absorb in your hand, then you will most likely possibly have 1 on the top?
Yes. So my normal list runs 66 in the main, and there's 10 dead cards. So every 1 to 6.6 cards should be one of the dead cards.
Yes, 1 over 6, right?
Yeah. So if my opening hand has none of the dead cards, one of the top 2 cards is very likely.
Yeah.
So the only way I peek there is if it's turn 0, and I'm going first.
Yeah.
Or if it's turn 0 and they didn't really do anything, like if they just threw Hammer for 4, you can peek because they're not doing anything after that.
Yeah.
So nothing bad happens. And then you just keep track of how many cards you've used and how many dead cards you've seen, and you just keep the ratio in mind of I've seen 3 dead cards and I pitched 20. So I know there's 40 cards left in the deck and 7 of them are dead. So it's a 1-to-6 ratio still. It's technically like a 1-to-6 point something.
1 to 4. No. A 7, 5. 1 to 6.
Yeah.
1 to 5 or 1 to 6.
So if you draw a hand with no dead cards at that point, one of the top 2 cards is likely to be a dead card. It's fairly risky to peek there. But if you draw a hand with a dead card, then you're like almost guaranteed not to have one on top because it goes from 1 to 6 to like you've removed an entire card from it and only used one of the remaining. So it goes from 1 to 6 to like 1 in 12 or 1 in 10 of dead cards, and you can almost always peek. I also try to factor in the 3-0 cost cards as well because they're not great hits. The Tome, the Cindering, and the Efot.
Yeah.
Because Cindering can just they all guarantee as long as you have the blues, they're all really good hits because you can do your setup. But if you have like that 2 blue, 2 red hand, and you look at the top and you see
Yeah.
Epot, you're like, this became a lot harder to do anything with.
Yes.
Or like if you see Cindering, you can play the Cindering just to see what the top cards are. But like if you put a 2 cost on top, you can't play the 2
You can play,
cost
yeah.
and the Epot, or and the D react, because all you have left is a blue and 2 reds. So it all really depends on where you're at. And like the zeros can hurt you. The Tome almost never hurts you. Realistically, the Tome is just sends you deeper into your list. Gives you more resources. Or Tome can theoretically lose your resources, but you have to draw 2 reds to lose resources off a Tome.
Yes.
Which is, highly unlikely, but it does happen. But even then, the Tome always turns on Moon, so
yes, it's still 3.
Yeah, even if you draw 2 reds, it's still 3 damage. Like it's not great by any means, but
yeah, better than nothing.
It's better than nothing.
Yes. So, can Justin give me your key takeaway today before ending the interview? How to playing this list?
The key takeaway is honestly just it's value. Like look at your hand and look at what they're playing or what they can play, and as long as you're matching them in value, you can be 1 or 2 points off. That's fine because our blowout turns are much better than most players. Like if they come in for 12 and you can block 7, throw 6, that's fine. You're actually winning value there. If you can only block 4 and throw 6, that's still fine. You took 8, dealt 6. As the game progresses, even with that mathematical state, the game's going to end up at a 1 to like 11 ratio, and you can kill them from there. Just with a wildfire and pretty much any spell. I think my biggest takeaway with this deck would be don't blindly trust the internet on how they say things have to be played. Just because XYZ pro player said this is how you have to play this deck, this is the only way that it's going to win, that doesn't make it true. There's a lot of value to be had in the unknown and just making your opponents not play optimally. So testing new ideas, playing new ideas, doing new things, even if they don't work perfectly or work the way you wanted to, you'll have a lot more fun. I know personally, I have a lot more fun going 5-4 in an event and not making day 2 with some crap I came up with than I do going 7-1 with generic XYZ deck off the internet. The game is supposed to be fun. Have fun with it. Do weird things. Watching Brody Spurlock pause and read my cards was the best part of my day. Of all of my day. Watching every opponent go, what? Was just great. Just have fun with it. Try new things. Especially if you play a fringe hero, these decks aren't figured out. No deck is like the mainline decks like Bai is probably figured out, and Bravo is probably figured out. If you're playing Vynnset, Volt, and even Dorinthia, who's been here forever, Kano, these decks aren't set in stone. Just because the 2 people who have done well with it say this is how you should play it, that doesn't make it the case. Read the cards, read the room, and take advantage of what they think you're going to do. So as soon as they start committing to one playstyle, and then you're playing a completely different game plan, everything they've done up to that point is wrong. They'll get flustered, raw human. Once they realize they've been making the same mistake for 3 turns, they're going to start making more mistakes, and you can capitalize on it. You don't have to just play the 34 blue Kano list that you're supposed to be stacking E-pots and D-pots and all that crap. I can't stand that list. I hate that list so much. I admit to its efficiency. I understand that. It is so boring. I play this hero to have fun. My opponent having to read every card I play is fun. Playing
Yeah,
Mind Warp for 4 is fun. People
yeah,
get really confused when they see Mind Warp and Absorb in the same turn. They're like, hey, what's that do? Hey,
yeah.
what's that
It's
do?
same case in they reading the card in Absorb In Aehter. What the card did? What the card does?
Yeah, what's that do? Or my Katsu opponent, the first time I played Absorb on him, he almost took my life total down because I said no blocks. He's like, no reaction. Or I said, do you have any reaction? He goes, no, and starts to write down. I was like, wait. I have a reaction.
Yeah,
He
that's
paused.
fun.
He goes, huh? And I was like, Absorb. And then he paused and read the card. He's like, what? Why are you playing this? And I'm like, I don't know. I can.
Which set is the
Um,
card from?
yeah, that is Arcane Rising, I think.
Yeah,
Or
Arcane Rising.
Prism. I'm not sure.
They even didn't read the card before.
Yeah. I've looked at the card like twice before I made this deck, and I was like, man, if Snapback was worded well, this card would be great. That is one thing I want to point out. Remember that most of our cards, for anyone wanting to play the deck, say if you played a wizard non-attack action card. Not
Yes.
all of them, but most of them say that. So most of our cards don't actually work well with Absorb In Aehter because they don't trigger any additional effects. Like you can't snap back off of it. Gaze doesn't go back to your hand off of it. So it is something to watch for. At the same time, Lesson in Lava doesn't say wizard non-attack action card.
Yeah.
Lesson in Lava says wizard card. You can tutor your absorbs. I've done it. They get really confused when you do.
Yeah, you can search Absorb with lesson.
Yeah, you can tutor your absorb with lesson, and that's one of the things that I'm doing. Looking at the spoilers for the net set, the universal card, and hopefully more. Remember, these are all technically wizard cards. You can Lesson in Lava and tutor for them. You don't have to play the normal decks. You can make your own. There will be a universal Kano list coming out if they give us enough universal cards in the
Yeah.
net set. I promise you that. I don't promise it to be good, but I'm gonna
Um.
make it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Okay. Thanks, Justin, for today's interview. And
Yes, sir.
I'm sure this video will shock the world and having more different style of Kano to make the games much more fun.
That was part of the goal, and I appreciate you for having me on and letting me explain the list to everyone. Have fun with everything, everyone. That's what the
Yes.
game is for.
Yes. Thank you for today. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Bye
You too.
bye.